What if I told you Heartland Season 19 could change everything? The ranch war might finally end. Amy could be heading for another wedding. And yes, Ty Borden is coming back, but not in the way anyone expected. Heartland has always given us comfort, healing, and family, but this time it's about to break our hearts all over again. Leaked details from the set, emotional flashbacks, and a new rivalry promise that Season 19 isn't just another chapter, it's the beginning of a whole new legacy. And you won't believe who's about to stir up the most drama. Let's dive into what's coming next at Heartland Ranch, because if these plot leaks are true, we're in for one of the most unforgettable seasons yet. Season 19 is officially filming, and fans can finally breathe again. After Season 18 left us with a kiss, a rivalry, and more questions than answers. The Heartland crew is back on set in Alberta, and production started at the end of May 2025. It feels like it took forever to get here, especially since Season 18 wrapped in late 2024, but seeing the cast return has brought a wave of emotion and excitement. Amber Marshall herself confirmed the news, and her voice as always felt like coming home. But this time, something's different. Behind the smiles and reunion posts, there's been a quiet storm building online. Multiple insiders have claimed that Season 19 will be the biggest shakeup the show has ever seen, not just in plot, but in tone. According to what's been shared, the trailer is coming sooner than expected, likely by late summer, and will include shocking footage of Amy's emotional journey forward, while still holding on to pieces of her past. One of the biggest rumors is that the trailer will open with a familiar voiceover, and fans are convinced it might be Ty's. Whether it's a flashback or a dream, we're told the trailer will hint at Ty's return, through never-before-seen scenes that Graham Wardle allegedly filmed quietly this spring. The production crew has kept things tight-lipped, but several fan forums have been buzzing about scenes involving Amy walking alone on the ranch, wearing an old jacket of Ty's as memories flood back. While nothing is confirmed yet, one thing's certain: this season will be deeply emotional. CBC's announcement also teased a return to the show's roots, which many believe means we'll see more focus on healing horses facing internal battles and rebuilding family bonds after deep loss. But even with that nostalgic return, the new cast dynamics are pushing us into uncharted territory. The ranch rivalry with Price Beef is far from over, and the drama is only getting started. Season 18 ended with a kiss, Amy and Nathan standing under the golden Alberta sky, finally giving into the connection that had been building all season. For some fans, it was the romantic reset they'd been waiting for. For others, it felt like a betrayal. Ty Borden's presence has never really left Heartland, and now in Season 19, that emotional tug-of-war is more intense than ever. According to multiple leaks and fan theories, Amy's story this season won't be simple. Yes, she's starting something new with Nathan, but the past isn't letting go, and neither is the audience. That's why the rumored return of Ty, even if only in flashbacks or dreams, has sent fans into an emotional spiral. We're hearing that the producers have crafted several scenes where Amy sees Ty, not in real time, but through memory and imagination. These moments aren't just nostalgic, they're being written as key turning points. Moments where Amy must decide what she truly wants and how far she's willing to go to protect it. Amber Marshall has always said she wouldn't let Ty's legacy disappear. That promise might finally be coming true in Season 19. Graham Wardle, who played Ty, has remained close friends with Amber off-screen, and rumors suggest she personally asked him to return for these emotional scenes. These won't be cheap cameos. They're designed to help Amy close one chapter and fully step into the next. Think back to how she struggled after Ty's death. The grief, the anger, the guilt. Now imagine all of that resurfacing as she tries to move forward with Nathan. It's not going to be easy. These flashbacks are being described as hauntingly beautiful and might even include unreleased footage or specially filmed sequences meant to look like memories. One insider claimed there's a particularly powerful scene where Amy, exhausted after a long day at the ranch, sees Ty in the barn just like old times. She walks toward him, but before she reaches him, he fades into light. Whether symbolic or spiritual, it's clear the show is going to lean into emotion more than ever. And that brings us to Nathan, played by the magnetic Nathaniel Arcand. He entered the show with tension as part of the rival Price Beef operation, but quickly developed layers that fans couldn't ignore. His relationship with Amy caught many off guard, especially since the rivalry between their families echoed the kind of classic love stories we used to see in early seasons. In Season 18, he was the quiet strength, the grounded presence Amy didn't know she needed. But in Season 19, their romance will be tested. not just by the ghost of Ty, but by outside forces determined to keep them apart. Remember Nathan's sister? She made a dramatic entrance in the season 18 finale, and from what we've heard, she's not leaving quietly. Fans are calling her the new villain of Heartland, and her main goal, to destroy the bond between Amy and Nathan. Her reasons remain unclear. Some say it's family pride, others believe there's a dark backstory involving Nathan's past relationships. Either way, she's ready to dig into Amy's history, exploit the emotional baggage left by Ty's death, and stir up chaos on both ranches. But the biggest twist? There's speculation that Amy and Nathan might consider marriage. Yes, marriage. Several online leaks suggest that early in the season, the couple begins discussing how to put an end to the feud between their ranches, and someone proposes the idea of a legal, emotional union that would tie both families together. On the surface, it sounds romantic. But if we've learned anything from Heartland's history, nothing is ever that simple. Lou, Jack, and Tim are all expected to have strong opinions, and we're told the family might be divided. The concept of Amy marrying again is controversial, not just to fans, but to the characters within the show. Lou in particular may question if Amy's rushing into something as a way to run from her grief. And Jack? His loyalty to Ty's memory has always been fierce. If he feels Nathan's intentions are unclear, he won't hesitate to protect his granddaughters. Heart. Still, some believe this conflict will lead to one of the most emotional wedding episodes in the show's history, either a joyful event or one that gets interrupted by something dramatic. Either way, it's coming. Then there's Caleb, Heartland's longtime friend cowboy and low-key romantic wildcard. Fans noticed Caleb's subtle jealousy in season 18, and the latest leaks suggest that he's not ready to back down just yet. We're hearing that early in season 19, Caleb confronts Amy about her relationship with Nathan, and the scene reportedly ends in tears. Not just from Amy, but from Caleb, too. It's said to be one of the rawest emotional scenes of the season. For the first time, Caleb confesses that he always believed Amy might come around and that he stayed close to her all these years for that reason. When Amy gently turns him down, it triggers a crisis. Some believe Caleb may leave the ranch altogether. Others say he'll double down on his commitment to stay despite the heartbreak. Either way, his role this season is going to be deeply emotional. It's not just about romantic competition, it's about identity, legacy, and loyalty. Caleb has been part of Heartland's core for so long that any shift in his position will shake things up across the board. Meanwhile, the family around Amy continues to evolve. Lou is rumored to be stepping back into the political spotlight. As the ranch faces new challenges, particularly from Price Beef's legal maneuvers and financial pressure, Lou may take it upon herself to fight back in the public sphere. This would echo her early career in local politics, and fans believe it's a perfect way to bring her back into a leading role. Georgie, too, might return in a limited capacity. Nothing is confirmed, but it's been suggested that Georgie could appear for a major family event, perhaps a wedding, or even a funeral, if tragedy strikes. And then there's Katie. Now almost the same age Amy was when the series began, Katie is expected to step into the spotlight. Whether she becomes a new romantic lead or simply finds her voice as a future ranch leader, it's clear that Heartland is planting the seeds for generational change. Some fans are speculating that Katie might be the one to take the show forward in future seasons, especially if Amy's story begins to settle into a quieter phase. But one thing is certain, Amy isn't being sidelined just yet. Her storyline in season 19 is being described as a storm of healing, love, and confrontation. And with Graham Wardle's possible return in flashbacks, that emotional storm is going to hit fans hard, from ghostly memories to romantic uncertainty. Amy's journey this season will be one of the most complex arcs in the show's history. She's not the same girl who trained Spartan all those years ago. She's a mother, a widow, a healer, and now possibly a bride again. Whether you're rooting for Ty's memory, cheering for Nathan's future, or secretly hoping Caleb makes one last move, Season 19 promises to deliver the emotional roller coaster we've all been waiting for. And deep down, we know, no matter where the story goes, Heartland will always find a way to bring us home. There's a theory making waves online that has Heartland fans and Yellowstone lovers alike sitting up and paying attention. Could the Fleming-Bartlett family of Alberta be connected, however loosely, to the legendary Dutton family of Montana? On the surface, it sounds far-fetched. Heartland is soft, soulful, family-focused. Yellowstone is violent, brutal, and soaked in blood and legacy. But when you start looking at the details, the cattle ranching history, the generational battles, the land feuds, the strong matriarchs and wounded cowboys, the connections start to feel less like coincidence and more like a hidden narrative. Here's where it gets interesting. Heartland takes place in Alberta, just north of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch in Montana. That border may seem big, but to ranchers with cross-generational land ownership, those boundaries often blur. According to fan speculation, Jack Bartlett, the heart and soul of Heartland, might have distant roots tied to the same pioneers that built Yellowstone's empire. The Bartletts have owned Heartland for decades, just like the Duttons have fought to keep their ranch for generations. Both families share values that are eerily similar: protect the land, defend the family, fight the government when necessary, and hold on to traditions at all costs. Even their patriarchs Jack Bartlett and John Dutton feel like spiritual mirrors of one another. Old-school cowboys who understand that legacy isn't just land, it's blood. But the real spark behind this theory comes from a rumored crossover idea that was pitched behind the scenes. According to leaks from both Canadian production sources and Yellowstone fan forums, there was once serious talk of a subtle crossover between the two universes. Not necessarily a full-on merger, but a shared reference or character cameo. The idea was simple. A distant cousin of Jack Bartlett, perhaps a long-lost Fleming ancestor, moved south during the early 1900s and helped establish what would later become part of the Dutton cattle empire. In reverse, a Dutton relative could be mentioned in Heartland as part of a long-forgotten dispute over grazing rights lost in time, but not in legend. It wouldn't require massive crossovers or timeline collisions, just a single line that links the two worlds. And fans are already picking up the breadcrumbs. Consider this: both Heartland and Yellowstone have featured the same wild horse preservation themes. Amy Fleming's work with troubled horses echoes the kind of connection that characters like Case and Jimmy have shown in Yellowstone. In both shows, horses aren't just animals, they're symbols of healing, freedom, and legacy. Heartland gives us Amy, a horse whisperer, with a gift that borders on the spiritual. Yellowstone gave us Travis, a rodeo cowboy who appears to be the last of a dying breed. What if these connections aren't accidental? What if both shows are quietly telling the same story through different lenses? Then there's the powerful female lineage. In Heartland, Marion Fleming's death was the catalyst for the entire series. Her love for horses and her tragic loss shaped Amy into who she became. In Yellowstone, it's Evelyn Dutton, Beth and Case's mother, whose death continues to haunt the ranch. Both women were tough-driven and devoted to family and land. Their loss left holes that no one has been able to fill. And both series ask the same question: how do daughters survive the shadow of a powerful mother? And let's not forget Ty Borden and Case Dutton. These two men, beloved by fans, are the emotional core of their respective families. Ty's journey, from troubled runaway to husband, father, and rancher, parallels Case's arc in uncanny ways. Both married strong women, both tried to walk away from violence, and both were constantly pulled back into the fight for something bigger than themselves. Ty died trying to protect his family. Case's fate still hangs in the balance as Yellowstone approaches its end. But what makes this comparison even deeper is how both men are remembered. Ty is now a ghost in Amy's mind, just as Case is haunted by visions, dreams, and prophecies about his own death. The spirit of the cowboy never leaves these shows, and that's not coincidence. That's a shared philosophy. And beyond the theories and fan dreams, the truth is both Heartland and Yellowstone are exploring the same emotional territory. What does it mean to fight for a piece of land that was never truly yours? What do you owe your ancestors? And how do you pass on your values without destroying the next generation? Amy and John Dutton would probably never agree on methods, but they'd understand each other deeply, because in the end, they're both warriors of legacy. They're both keepers of a flame that the modern world is trying to extinguish. And that's why fans keep drawing these lines, connecting these characters across countries and genres, because the soul of Heartland and the fire of Yellowstone might not be as different as we once believed. And what if Katie Fleming Morris and Tate Dutton cross paths in a future spin-off? Two young heirs to rival ranching legacies, two worlds colliding. Maybe at a rodeo, maybe at a cattle auction, maybe at a moment when everything is about to change. The possibilities are endless, and as Taylor Sheridan keeps expanding the Yellowstone universe, and Heartland continues to quietly hold its throne as TV's longest-running family drama, it's not impossible that these worlds could brush against each other. As Heartland gallops into Season 19, fans around the world are asking one simple but emotional question: is this the end? And the truth is, we don't know. But this season feels different. Heavier, more personal. More uncertain. It's like the show is riding a fine line between holding on and letting go. So much has changed. Ty is gone. Georgie is gone. The family is scattered emotionally, even as they cling to each other physically. And for the first time in nearly 2 decades, we're watching Heartland not as a comforting return to the ranch we know, but as a story that could be preparing to say goodbye. Or to pass the reins to someone new. Season 19 opens not with triumph or joy, but with reflection. The mood is quieter. Amy is more grounded than ever, but also clearly tired. Not tired of the work, but of the weight. Of carrying the ranch, her daughter, her grief, and the legacy of everything Ty left behind. This season, Amy is being pushed to ask herself a question she's never allowed before. What do I want? Not what's best for Lyndy, not what's expected of her. But what does Amy Fleming need to feel alive again? It's a dangerous question because it opens the door to change. And change is risky on land soaked in memory, but change is coming. You can feel it in every storyline. Lou is torn between her duties as mayor and her responsibilities as a mother, sister, and ranch co-owner. She's spread so thin that even her best intentions are starting to crack. And in season 19, we may finally see Lou forced to choose. Between politics and Heartland. Between control and connection. Her relationship with Peter could either reach new depth or shatter for good. And what about Katie? She's not a little girl anymore. She's testing boundaries, asking questions, discovering who she is. And that could mean leaving the ranch, behind, or becoming its future. Jack Bartlett is still the soul of the show, but even he is beginning to slow. His wisdom is deep, but his body is tired. Lisa is watching him with growing fear. And fans are too. Because let's be honest, if Jack ever says goodbye, the whole world of Heartland could crumble. Jack is the last living link to Marion to the original dream of Heartland to the beginning. And in season 19, there are more than a few moments that feel like farewells, not dramatic ones. Just quiet ones, long looks, small nods, silent goodbyes that hit harder than words ever could. And then there's Lyndy. She's the heartbeat of the future. And in season 19, she begins to step into that power. Amy is beginning to train her not just with horses, but with life. Lyndy's connection to the land, to the animals, to the rhythm of Heartland, it's almost spiritual. It's like Ty is watching over her, guiding her. And yet Amy is terrified because the world is not safe. And she knows better than anyone what it costs to live a life tied to legacy. Will Lyndy become the new heart of Heartland, or will she carve her own path far from the ranch? Meanwhile, the ranch itself is facing challenges. Financial pressures are mounting. The economy is shifting. New developers want to buy up land. The fight for Heartland's survival is no longer just emotional. It's literal. And this season could see the family making a choice they've never had to consider. Before Do We Let It Go? The thought alone is enough to break longtime fans. Heartland isn't just a place. It's a symbol of healing, of family, of enduring love. But can a symbol survive when everything around it is changing? And then comes the biggest twist of all legacy. Season 19 plays heavily with the idea of inheritance, not just land or horses, but trauma dreams, expectations, and memory. What do we leave behind? What stories do we pass down? And are those stories burdens or blessings? Amy, Lou, Jack, they're all wrestling with this. And more importantly, so are the younger characters. Will Katie Parker and Lyndy inherit the ranch? Or will they walk away from it completely? Season 19 is asking these hard questions, and it's not offering easy answers. There are whispers among the cast and crew. Social media is buzzing. Is season 19 the last? Some fans think it's a soft goodbye, a gentle ending where nothing explodes but everything shifts. Others think it's just a transition, that Amy will step back and Lyndy will rise, that the show will evolve. But either way, the emotional weight is unmistakable. Every episode feels like it could be the last ride. Every look, every hug, every sunrise over those Alberta hills feels like a memory being made in real time. And yet, despite all the pain, all the loss, all the uncertainty, there's still hope. Because that's what Heartland has always been about. Hope in the face of heartbreak, healing through connection, love that outlives grief. The ranch may fall, the characters may change, But the spirit of Heartland, that quiet, unshakable belief that people can grow through the pain, that will never die. So whether season 19 is the final chapter or the beginning of a new book, one thing is certain: Heartland is more than a show. It's a home. And as long as we keep coming back, year after year, tear after tear, it will keep living in all of us. Because the real Heartland was never just the land. It was the love.